In the shadows of Mount Everest, a train awaits. But be warned, those attempting to reach the summit must face him.
Expedition Everest, a chilling new ride at Disney's Animal Kingdom Park.
Expedition Everest is one of Disney's greatest rides ever built, but behind the scenes it was almost a financial disaster. This wasn't just a roller coaster, it was a $100 million gamble. Disney wanted something no one had ever built before, and Vekoma had to figure out how to make it real. But the more ambitious it became, the closer things got to going very, very wrong. To understand how this almost became a disaster, you have to understand what Expedition Everest actually is. Because on the surface, it just looks like a roller coaster inside a mountain, but in reality, it is one of the most complex rides ever built. This wasn't just about speed or height. Disney wanted a ride that told a story, with every single second perfectly timed. From the moment you leave the station, everything is controlled: the pacing, direction, and even when the ride stops. That's where things start to get really complicated. Unlike a normal coaster, this ride doesn't just move forward. At one point, the train climbs to the top, comes to a complete stop, and then the track literally switches beneath you, and without warning, you're sent backwards into the mountain. And that might sound simple, but from an engineering perspective, it is a nightmare. Now, you aren't just building a track, you're building a system that has to move, lock, and sync perfectly, and if it doesn't, the entire ride stops working. This is where Vekoma comes in, because Disney didn't build this alone. They brought in Vekoma to design and manufacture the coaster itself. And for Vekoma, this wasn't just another project. This was something completely different. A custom-built ride with systems that had never been done at this scale before. No shortcuts, no templates, and no guarantee it would even work the way they planned. That's where things started to get risky, because rides like Expedition Everest aren't usually built this way. Most roller coasters follow proven designs and layouts that have already worked before. That's how companies like Vekoma stay profitable. They reuse ideas, they refine them, and they sell them again and again. But Everest? This was different. Almost everything about it had to be built from scratch. The problem with building something completely new is that you run into problems that nobody has ever solved before. The track layout had to fit perfectly inside a massive mountain structure. The timing had to match the story, and the trains had to handle forward and backward movement smoothly. The switch track, arguably the most important movement of the ride, had to work flawlessly every single time, because if it didn't, the entire system would shut down. Now imagine dealing with all of that while working with Disney. This isn't just any client. Disney expects perfection. No delays, no visible issues, and no compromises. That puts a massive amount of pressure on the manufacturer, because every extra test, every redesign, every small issue costs time and money. The more complex the ride became, the more expensive it became to finish. Not just for Disney, but for Vekoma too, because projects like this don't just magically stay on budget. Behind the scenes, there are constant adjustments, unexpected problems, things that didn't work out the first time, and every time something has to be fixed, that's more resources, more engineering, and more financial risk. And here's where the timing made everything worse, because while the massive project was happening, the coaster industry itself was slowing down. Fewer parks were buying new rides, and budgets were tightening. Companies like Vekoma were already starting to feel that pressure. Now you have a situation where one of the most complex rides ever is being built at one of the most expensive scales ever during a time when business isn't at its strongest. That's a dangerous combination, because if something goes wrong, there isn't much to fall back on. And while Expedition Everest would eventually open, the strain from projects like this, combined with industry struggles, pushed Vekoma into a position where they had to file for bankruptcy protection, not because of one single ride, but because of the kind of risk this ride represents. And that's the part most people never see. When you ride Expedition Everest, you're experiencing something incredible. A perfectly timed story, a seamless ride, a massive mountain, hiding all of the complexity inside. But behind that experience is a level of engineering risk that most guests will never notice, because sometimes the most impressive rides in the world are also the most dangerous ones to build. Expedition Everest didn't just push the limits of theme park design, it pushed the limits of what a coaster manufacturer could handle. It proved that innovation can create something unforgettable, but it also showed how quickly that innovation can become a risk. And in this case, one of Disney's greatest rides ever created came closer than most people realize to becoming a financial disaster.